Hello again, Chapelwood. It's Dwayne. This time I'm coming to you from the front seat of my truck as I'm driving, obeying hands-free laws. My phone is mounted on the dashboard, and so I'm able to drive safely while I talk to you. So I'm not violating any laws. I'm also not violating any shelter-in-place standards because my industry, the commercial construction painting industry, is still up and running, thank goodness, because that means I have a job, which is a good thing. I don't know how long that's going to last, but for this week I'm blessed. So one of the things I do every day in my job, I have a large project that I'm supervising in downtown Atlanta. I spend part of my day there, most of my day there, at the Georgia Aquarium. And I can't tell you a lot about what we're doing. You'll find out in November of 2020, provided the timetable stays as is, when the aquarium unveils the new exhibits. I will tell you, rumor has it that one of the exhibits might involve some really, really big fish. But you didn't hear that from me, if anybody asks. Big fish. Speaking of big fish, I thought we might take this time to talk about Jonah. Jonah from the Old Testament, the great story of Jonah and the whale, or the big fish, whichever you prefer. When I was a kid and I went to the doctor's office, there was always a book of children's Bible stories there. And I was always fascinated by the stories, and they really captivate children's imagination. Most of them are Old Testament stories. David and Goliath, Noah, Daniel in the lion's den, and Jonah. I mean, what's more exciting than some guy that got eaten by a whale? So Jonah had been called by God to do something that he didn't want to do. That's it in a nutshell. And he tried to run away. And God said, no, I'm not going to let you do that. And first he sent a storm and the boat almost sank. And then Jonah wound up in the water, and then the fish came. And next thing you know, after 3 days in the belly of the fish, Jonah decided he was ready to do what God asked him to do. I think I would be ready at that point as well. It's a pretty drastic measure, but I think it took that for Jonah to get the message. So what I wanted to talk about is the fact that there's a lot of debate, first of all, about Jonah. Was it really a whale? That's what we used to hear when we were kids. Or is it really a big fish? Or was it really just a metaphor for a lesson on morality? Was it? I don't know. I don't have the answer to all that because I'm not a Bible scholar. I'm not any kind of scholar. And not to belittle that at all. I admire the people that search for those answers. I just don't think that that's the important issue here. I think this is a story of faith, of Jonah's faith being strong enough to follow what God's asking him to do. It's really a story of obedience. And faith stories often have warm and fuzzy endings. Obedience is not a warm and fuzzy word. Nevertheless, God calls us to obedience, and he makes that clear. I heard it said one time that they're not called the 10 recommendations, right? 10 commandments. We're called to obedience. So this is not to suggest that what we're going through right now with the coronavirus, I don't believe that it's God's attempt to punish us for being disobedient, and we have to be called to obedience for it to go away. I think that it's a product of our society and the way we live, and that's what's happening to us. But I do think we're being called into obedience. So what kind of obedience am I talking about? Well, I'm talking about the fact that I think Christians have a responsibility to be good citizens. I do believe that we're called to be good citizens. I think that we are called to participate in society in a way that reflects the greater good. Not only that, I believe that as Christians, we need to take a leading role in that. I think that we need to set an example. I do. I think that we need to try to be a blessing to others as much as we can. I believe that right now, God is asking us to be obedient to his call for us, first of all, to be patient. That's very hard right now because we don't know. There's so many unknowns and what it's going to be like next week and next month in the middle of the summer. We simply don't know. We're not a very patient society. God is asking us, calling us to be patient. Second, I think God is asking us to be compassionate. There are a lot of people who are struggling mightily. Some of the things we've had to give up are merely conveniences. We can't go to a movie. We can't go sit down in a restaurant. Some of the things that are happening are a lot more difficult than that. There are people losing jobs. There are people with significant health concerns. There are people that don't know how they're going to pay their rent or buy their groceries. Those are all painful things, and I think God is calling us to be compassionate. He's also calling us to be generous for those of us who are in a position and who still have the means to help those that can. That means in our congregation and in our community and in our neighborhoods. And that's what he's calling us to do. He's calling us to that obedience. I have to tell you that it's inspiring to me to be in the position I'm in, to be out in the world probably more than some of you are right now, because I believe people are trying to do the right thing. Not everybody and not all the time, but people are working hard to do the right thing. I've seen it. I see it every day. And I know that our congregation is doing that. And it inspires me to be a part of a congregation like that, loving, compassionate, generous, and caring. And I know that we're going to continue to do that. Be faithful to God's call and be obedient to God's call right now to do the things that we need to do to get through this time. And we will soon be back at church and worshiping together. God bless all of you. I hope you can be a blessing to someone today. Bye.